Today, we're talking about the ghost routes on our flight maps. You know, those massive empty spaces that pilots absolutely refuse to cross? So let's find out why. Think about this for a second. Right now, at any given moment, there are about 9,500 commercial planes up in the air. If you ever pull up a live flight tracker, it's just this incredible buzzing web of aircraft all over the globe. But here's the weird part. In the middle of all that activity, you'll see these huge, gaping holes. Just blank spots on the map where no planes seem to go. Now, this isn't a coincidence. Pilots are actively avoiding these places. And the big question is, why? What is going on in these forbidden zones? Okay, so our first set of answers actually has nothing to do with governments or secrets. It comes straight from the planet itself. We're talking about places where nature just draws a line in the sky and says, nope, you can't fly here. And pilots, well, they have no choice but to listen. So let's start with a big one, the Tibetan Plateau. This thing is massive. We're talking 2.5 million square kilometers. Logically, it should be a perfect shortcut for flights between, say, China and Europe, but it's not. If you look at any flight map, you'll see planes taking these long detours just to fly around it. And here's why. It all comes down to some really crucial survival math. So a plane is cruising along at 35,000 feet. Suddenly there's an emergency, let's say the cabin loses pressure. The pilot has got about 20 minutes max to get that plane down to 10,000 feet where you can actually breathe. But here's the kicker. The ground on the Tibetan Plateau averages 14,000 feet high. You literally can't descend to a safe altitude because the ground is in the way. It's an impossible situation. And that's not even the only problem. You've also got these huge mountains creating their own crazy weather systems. When wind slams into those peaks, it creates this violent, totally unpredictable turbulence that can just toss a plane around. For pilots, the risk is just way, way too high. Okay, moving on to another natural danger, and this one is genuinely terrifying. I mean, it can look just like a normal cloud, but volcanic ash, it's pretty much a pilot's worst nightmare. So what exactly happens when a plane flies into one of these? Well, this story shows you just how bad it can get. Back in 1982, a flight flew into this weird, smoky-looking cloud that smelled like sulfur. Turns out it wasn't smoke, it was volcanic ash. That ash got sucked into the engines, melted, and then basically turned to glass, shutting down all four of them. The plane just became a giant, powerless glider, dropping out of the sky. It's a miracle, but as they fell into thicker, cooler air, the crew managed to get 3 engines restarted and land the plane. Yeah, after that, everyone agreed, flying over active volcanoes, not a good idea. You know, you'd think the dangers from nature are all about what's up in the sky. But sometimes the threat is actually a giant hole in the ground. We're talking massive craters, from meteors or even huge mines. Now, for a big jet at 30,000 feet, no big deal. But for smaller, low-flying planes or helicopters, these things can be deadly. It's all because of something called the vortex effect. Here's how it works. The sun bakes the bottom of the crater, right? That hot air starts rising really fast. At the same time, cooler air from above rushes down the sides to fill the gap. What you get is this powerful, invisible whirlpool of air, a vortex that can create a downward suction, literally pulling a small aircraft right out of the sky. Just wild. All right, so we've seen how Mother Nature can make certain parts of the sky off limits. But that is only half the story. Now we need to look at the invisible fences that we've built, the no-fly zones created by politics, by security concerns, and even by religious beliefs. And when we talk about man-made no-fly zones, there's probably no better example than the airspace over North Korea. The reason planes stay away has nothing to do with mountains or volcanoes. It's all about something far more unpredictable: the military. The problem is pretty straightforward, really. North Korea is known to conduct missile tests whenever they feel like it, with zero advance warning to commercial flights. These things can launch over land, over sea, at any moment. And for an airline, the risk of a tragic mix-up is just unthinkable. So what do? They take the long, expensive detour all the way around the country, every single time. Next up, let's head to the holy city of Mecca. Now, there's this popular myth that no planes fly over it because it's some sort of magnetic center of the earth. But the real reason has nothing to do with physics. It's much more practical, and it's a direct decision by the Saudi government. The government actually has 2 official reasons. First is security. You often have millions of pilgrims gathered in a very small area, so they want to eliminate any chance of an accident from the air. The second reason is serenity. The city is in a valley, and the mountains would echo the noise from jet engines, which would totally disrupt the atmosphere of worship. And finally, we have to talk about maybe the most famous no-fly zone in the world, that patch of desert in Nevada known as Area 51. It's a top-secret U.S. Air Force base, and it is surrounded by mystery. And the authorities are extremely serious about keeping its secrets safe. With most restricted airspace, you might get a warning or an escort jet, but the rules for Area 51 are different. It's chilling, but it's true. If a pilot enters this airspace and doesn't immediately turn around, the U.S. Air Force is authorized to shoot them down, no questions asked. So when you pull back and look at the whole picture, you realize the sky isn't this wide open, free space we imagine it to be. It's actually covered in this complex grid of invisible rules, some made by nature and some made by us. And it really all boils down to two categories. You've got the no-fly zones created by natural dangers, just the raw physics of our planet. And then you have the ones created by human decisions, which are all about politics, security, and respect. So I guess the big takeaway here is this. The next time you see a flight path on a map, just remember that the straight line is almost never the real story. Every single route you see is a result of a careful calculation, navigating a hidden world of natural forces and human boundaries. And that kind of leaves you with a bigger question, doesn't it? We know the sky has these invisible rules, but it makes you wonder, what other unseen borders and hidden forces are out there shaping our world in ways we don't even see?